We will, Bezrat Hashem, continue the Morenu units we are learning. Unit 45 that defines Kirim Shenachtam Le'Isur. We were talking last time about candles, right? When we say candles, we don't mean those wax things that we have. We're talking about a vessel that has a wick and fuel, right? And the Ravid, let's just read that briefly again on page 5. Start from there. See, the Ramban brings the Ravid on page 5. Nirot lav melachto le'isuhu sheino ela basis leptila ve'lashemen ve'enosin melacha. Now, what's the definition of enosin melacha here? My understanding was that when I have a hammer, what does the hammer do? What? You don't even have the right page? The wrong page. Maybe someone stole your page. So, what's my understanding of what was page 5? Yes. Yeah, the Ramban. No, the Ramban quotes the Ravid. That's why. The Ramban quotes the Ravid. Now, so the Ramban says, so the Ravid says, the Ramban quotes him, that the candle is only a vessel that holds the wick and the fuel. It doesn't do melacha unto itself. Now, what do you mean by not do? Right. I mean, here it's nil. All right. So. Oh no. The nil is the whole system. When they say nil, they're referring to that vessel that could hold the wick and the fuel. They say it's not Isur. Now he says two things. Number one, it's there only basis laptila ve'lashemen. It's only there as a base, something that could hold the ptila and the shemen. Number two, it doesn't do melacha unto itself. Now, my understanding, if it doesn't do melacha unto itself, I say, wait a minute, but it facilitates the burning, right? Say, right, but what is the Isur of the burning? There's no Isur of burning on Shabbat, right? There's an Isur of lighting. This of lighting or affecting the light, right? But if you light it before Shabbat, there's no problem with the fuel burning on Shabbat. So now this would be akin to, would a fan be right? The hammer is used to hit the nail, right? And that itself is the Isur. While it's being used, melacha is being done, right? So what do you do with a hammer? What? You hammer. That's, yeah. It's almost by definition, right? Now, so the function of the hammer is to do the melacha of hammering, right? As opposed to the fan. What's the melacha when you have a fan? Turning it on, right? Once it's running, now I don't get benefit from the melacha itself until after the melacha is finished, right? The melacha is finished, then I can start benefiting from the fan, right? You see the problem, Kilo. So if I have this candle, I light the candle. Lighting the candle is definitely asur. When he says it doesn't do melacha, what do you mean the candle doesn't do melacha? Of course it does melacha. You say, no, because the use of the candle is not while the melacha is happening. The use of the candle happens after the melacha finishes.
The melacha is the changing of the state of the candle from unlit to lit.
Correct. That's right. I think that's what he means by doing melacha.
There, the candle can stay.
Right, as opposed to all.
We have timer, something could go on. As long as you're not turning it on, the fact that the air conditioner is on, the air conditioner is on.
Right, and I think that's what he's saying. Therefore, it's not actually Isur, even though it can't be done without a. The only way you could use the candle is by lighting it, which is asur. Right, but once you finish lighting it, then it works onto itself. It doesn't do malacha, as opposed to all the Kirim Isur we always had. We had the saw, right? Why is the saw Kirim Isur? Because you only use it while you're doing a malacha. So, supposed to take a candle, use it after you finish doing the malacha.
Yeah, right. So if you had maybe it's silly, but you had a factory, you turn on the button and everything was starting to, wood was being cut, things were being boiled, all this.
You're saying is that axe that's in there? Yeah, but the
You
use.
started it and now you say,
No, I'll tell you why it's different. I'll tell you why it's different. If I have an axe that's just going like this,
Yeah.
right? Am I allowed to put something under to chop it?
It's happening all automatically.
No, that's fine. The point isn't the automation isn't the point. The point is that the melacha, what makes the melacha happen, the melacha here is the chopping, right? So the axe is automated, fair enough. But the melacha is chopping in the sense that I'm not allowed to put something there in its way either, right? As opposed to the candle. You see the difference?
The fan going round, right?
Mhm.
Fan itself going round and round.
Right.
Is not that.
Right, exactly.
I'm just saying, I think you could say that fairly, but as long as you're not actively involved in it, you just all.
No, I don't-
No,
so I think- No, so I think it's not true because I think the axe, right? If I don't know why we took that, but right, the axe that's doing that movement, right? Putting something under it will also be asur, right? In other words, the melacha, the use of the axe is for it to do a melacha, as opposed to the use of the candle is for it to be lit. It's to be, it's not to do. Correct. It's not. Also, it isn't doing anything, as it were. You know. Right. Adding new fuel is asur. Yes. Yeah.
And taking away the fuel.
Subtracting fuel is asur as well. We talked about subtracting fuel last time. If you remember. Reserve yontiv. So reserve yontiv. So. So let's see what Rav Gerstedner does with this.
But adding it, you're just making the melacha last longer.
So that's the whole question. Am I affecting?
Making the flame higher.
Oh, I was about to say that's exactly the question. And the nafkamina is a very, very important one, which is, are you allowed to turn the gas off in your stove? Yeah, Chag, exactly. You heard Rav Shabtai on this, right? You heard Rav Shabtai on this? What? Many years ago, yeah. Yeah.
What was the
Now you're going to get us back to there.
you mentioned
So it's my fault. It's my fault. So please, tough. Show that report. Rav Moshe's grandson-in-law. There you go. Rav Moshe Rabbeinu, yeah. Moshe Rabbeinu Feinstein, yes. So Rav Gerstedner says like this: Bari di shelato, grandson-in-law, yeah. בא לידי שאלתו מאז בעניין אם מותר לטלטל בשבת ונטילטור דמתקריה מאוורר. ואם משום דעה וכלי שמחתו לאיסור דינו מותר לצורך גופו ומקומו, באמת זה תלוי בהשלי רב רבי. עם כלי כזה ובגדר מלאכתו לאיסור. יש לומר דלא וכלי שמחתו לאיסור, אלא איך שאופן תשמישו רק בדרך איסור. The use is מלאכה, or איסור, at least. Not מלאכה, at least איסור, right? קונס של זהבים, right, the hammer, תדע שמשל לעשות במלאכת הזהב ומלאכה בו יש באיסור, הכלי נדון דידן אין צריך לעשות בו שום מעשה בשעה שמשתמש בו, זה הכלי מנח נייך, אם כן אפשר דין זה בגדר כלי לעשות לאיסור. The use of it, the benefit you get out of it, the pleasure you get from it doesn't correlate to the melacha, it's after the melacha. יש בו בשעה שצריך לעשות בו מלאכת איסור, שיכול להדליק מערב שבת, ושבת נצטרך לעשות כלום. He does touch the automation aspect. He says you turn it on before Shabbat and then it's there, right? And that's not actually the Isur because you have no need to ever do any melacha with it on Shabbat. But again, it's still things that are of such a nature that you always use, that the benefit doesn't come directly from the melacha. Supposed to all the other things, the benefit of a hammer is that it could hammer, which is a melacha. The benefit of ובאמת פליגו בזה ראשונים, כמו שהביא הרקוויגר גבי נר שלא הדליקו בו בשבת. דעת התוספות דעה ועל כל פנים בגדר כללותו לאיסור. ודעת הרשב"א בשם הרייבד, זה לא מקרה מלאכתו לאיסור, שאינו משמש מלאכת איסור. בזה שם הרמב"ן, שם הרייבד וכולי. So he says, depends on the machloket of what you say about a candle. Because if we accept the Raivid, we say candles not why not? It doesn't do malacha, meaning, of course, you have to enact the malacha in order to use it, but the benefit is given from the light that doesn't touch upon the malacha. That happens on its own, that the malacha. But it seems to also disagree, because Tosfot do say refer to as going to leisur. So the chora, it would be that machloket. Besider. Let's see the panim me'irot about mechanical watches. What a mechanical watch? One, page 6. Mechanical watches, right? You have a watch, yeah, a watch. I'm saying as opposed to a watch. You're right. The watch is based on clockwork. Yes. So he says, "Behane bli shum tnuat adam idan yichol lifol puratan mamash. Lachen nara lo yasol letatel. Ma she'en ken b'shar shonim שמראה אופנים כחיות, כי חיות הן אכן את עצמו, שכל השבת נערך ולא חיים עצמו כתבת שעות, למה יהיו לנו אסורים? So there's no problem as long as you need to set them before Shabbat. And then the benefit, again, the benefit of the watch is never when you set it, because the issue of setting it, usually you set it, right? You have to pull the spring, right? You have to wind it up, right? So you need to, when you do, you have to make sure it has the right time. Right. If you check that has the right time, that means you're not getting the benefit of knowing what time it is from this watch, right? Definition of it, right?
Asking watches, if we're adding just the phones and digital with the light.
Does that?
Digital watches that have a light.
Yes.
Asking about watches that have.
Oh, so there is room to see a watch in that sense, because you say many times of the day I will not be able to get the benefit of the watch if I don't do another malacha, right? Now again, that doesn't mean you can't carry the tzorach gufo, right? That you can't carry the tzorach gufo. Right, that's the other aspect I was considering, right? Because I think most of the day, I dare say most of the day, you can get the benefit, most of the waking hours, right? You can read the time without pressing anything. Right. All right.
It's after you wind the watch.
After you?
Wind the watch.
Yes.
Everything that you still hold the days with itself.
So that you're walking winds the watch. So the truth is, Eretz Chemda has an answer about that, has a tshuva about that. Now that I'm reading this and hearing a question, I say, but I'm surprised that we didn't say, hey, we should throw that in here. The big question there was, what do we think about things that happen kind of on their own, without my direct intervention, without thinking about it. Sorry, without my intention. That my intention. This is a lot to do. This affects. So,
The meaning was
to use what those watches. The question. I think the heter was based on. I'm not intending on winding it when I go around, and I don't necessarily need to.
What's the answer of winding?
That's also a good question. The poskim said it's like metaken kli. Right. Question is how much do you see it like that? It's a question. But, right.
Well, most of these watches are really, the ones that are mechanical that you use go through your movement, they're already kind of wound. You're just.
Right.
That's potentially keeping it from dying out, but more likely. You could argue maybe it's preparing for after Shabbat, but the point is it's gonna last your body.
Right, exactly.
And since you're wearing it as part of be able to get a use out of it, the actual whining that's happening is something that you're not particularly interested in.
Exactly. You should be writing tshuvot for b'mera bazak, because broadly speaking, that's the answer. So you don't intend, and it would work without that. The more interesting question comes up if you want to go into the unintentional turning things on, has to do with how much are we required to avoid electric rays, right? The sensors. from sensing us on Shabbat, right? It creates some kind of automatic response. So if you're talking about going through a door, right, a door that you have a sensor and it opens up when you walk through, there are those who argue that that's not that lo yachol liyot. Rabinovich started this direction. I'm not sure if he said l'maisa mamash.
That if it's not a melacha itself.
Right, because what I'm doing is I'm walking. He basically says lo yachol liyot that just walking is an isur, even though I'm walking into the sensor to turn to open the door. Okay, Hara, interesting. Because here, his point was this is too far removed from the melacha. No, I wanted to open, but when I say too far removed, I mean that I'm walking, the sensor. I need to think of how to define it, Mehmet. I need to look deeper. I need to look deeper into it to give a proper answer. But most again, most poskim have disagreed, but they do agree that so you have the sensors, you have we have them here. Those the cameras nagid. So cameras is also going to be a very big deal very soon. Right. And also this is going to come up that one of my neighbors, in fact, I have a bit of a controversy because one of my neighbors is making a Shabbos, it's called a Shabbos click, Shabbos camera, right? You have a bar mitzvah coming up, so you set up a camera before Shabbat to take pictures in the shul, and it just sits there, and you don't do anything on Shabbos. Happens on its own, right? Now, it becomes more complicated. Now you can say, all right, let's say he didn't tell anyone. He just knows where the bar mitzvah boy should be standing and approximately when, so he says a camera. He didn't tell anyone. All right, that's one scenario. Another scenario, we know it's there. We tested exactly what the right angles are. And then you make sure to get the grandparents, to get the zervan, right? Exactly, all these smiles that you would naturally be smiling.
Invite everybody up here. I'd like the next party at 5, stand here, great.
Right, exactly. Right. Is that a problem? That's what Rav Dov Lior said. What's the problem? You're not doing anything. Right. Rav Melamed it's not Shabbos click. It's not. Rav Melamed said that maybe there's a tzoveh aspect to it based on a certain understanding of tzoveh being, even if it doesn't paint something specific, but it is just the memory. He has some kind of understanding of tzoveh as keeping the impression of the colors on something. Right, but it's keeping it's keeping the impression of the colors because the computer does have all of the pixels, right?
It's what another process. It's stored, it's not stored like a picture.
Yeah, I know.
Stuff with the Nefesh, like all the cameras in the old city and
Right.
on the street. And believe me, in Manhattan, you can't go 3 blocks without having a camera that's been installed, not privately by the city.
Right. Look, those are easier because those are right. So those things are. So I was saying those things are easier because there you have no intention, right? And that's my point. Even if you say that there's some kind of tzavad rabbanan, like he wants to argue, he agrees. He agrees that if you're just walking down the street, right? So the Shabbos cook is more of an issue like that. I said that it very well may be that in 10 years it'll be standard to have cameras in bar mitzvahs on Shabbos, but not today. That's going to be the pitch.
Can I ask another question on the watch then? To a specific example, this watch has a battery.
Okay.
Probably goes for a week or so. It charges by the sun. The second hand only works when it's really fully charged, and otherwise
it doesn't.
The second hand will just stop. Now I don't know anybody who really stops at a doctor. Nobody uses the second hand. Nobody cares.
Right. No, I agree. Let's read Shiur because he actually upset me, which actually happens. Shiur Halevi does that to me sometimes. Anyway.
uh,
אם יש איסור, I just want to read Shiur Halevi for a moment. אם יש איסור לטלטל מעברו בשבת בזמן פעולתו, יש חילוק אם הוא פועל או לא. אם אינו פועל, בוודאי מותר לעצור גופו במקומו. I say, really? Really?
Nothing there.
Really? By the way, this would be against the Chazon Ish, right? Oh no. Oh, I'll turn it off. I'll turn it off. Okay. אם הוא פועל, ישתדלים גם כן להתיר, ועל כן שמטלטל בעיקר ברגל, מזניחים אותו. Now,
1 second.
hold on. What are we talking about? Right?
Getting that off is pretty much what it's very good.
When it's off, it'll be deemed Kiryat Isur. And if it's on, I found this Rav Wosner completely surprising in every sense. The Chazon Ish says that the Isur of electricity is boneh. Why? Because I have a huge metal box, right? That's bulky and heavy and basically useless as a cupboard. And then I connect the electricity and magically it starts cooling the things that are inside and becomes a fridge, right? So there would be something between Makeh Patish and Boneh, right? I created a new identity to this, right? What is the fan? The fan is also something that's absolutely useless, right? The fan is absolutely useless until it's connected to electricity. What can you do with the fan? Nothing.
Well, these left in the box, if these left in the list.
Right?
yeah.
Now, so which is more of a kli? The one that's on or the one that's off?
You're saying on because it's already useful.
Yeah, if
Becomes function.
it becomes functional.
The
Once
one that's
it's
off is something you run it. It's
I
like,
think when it's off, it should be like, should be muktzim, like.
it should almost be muksem echad gufa. You know,
enough.
if I would have to say, if I was told, right, if a malach came and
It
said,
might depend on which kli, because like a fridge is a useful closet. But like
a useless closet, but a closet nonetheless, yes.
a fan is really like a piece of nothing.
Right. It's just bulky pieces of metal and plastic that like
It's waiting to go on.
anyway.
oh, now you could say that, no problem, but why it's not clear to me, why does he think there's a difference between it on and off? I don't understand. Either there's no difference, or when it's off, it's more useless.
But when
Now-
it's full with the stuff, it's like combined.
You mean gufo. Again, the fan, why are you moving the fan? That's the other question. Why are you moving the fan? Either I'm moving because I want it to focus on me. So that's usually the case. I want it focused on me. Or I want it, or if it's my wife, she wants it not focusing on her, right? Not blowing at her, right? Right? Oh, it is. Oh, see, we know to share well, right?
Right.
And so I'd be tzorech, and then so mine would be tzorech gufo because I wanted to blow at me. Hers would be tzorech mekomo because she wants to sit here without the fan blowing on her, right? So l'chor, either one should be fine. And what's the other option? I don't understand this whole moving it with your leg. I don't understand with your foot.
It's just
A cop out, right? No, but
and that's just, if you had any problems, be worried. But from what you said before, so if it's off, so then it's waiting to go on, and that's where you could be doing a malachah.
Okay.
But now it becomes a teaching malachah. That's because that's not the kulmus waiting to be picked up and be like funk.
so if it's off, it'll be isur, and if it's on, it's nothing, right? So if you want to give us, so you can say tusvar. You can say when it's off, it's not a kli at all. It's just a piece of junk, right? Or you say it's a isur because you have to plug it in and turn it on. If it's on, either it's a isur because plugging it in, turning it on is what has been an isur, right? Or you say it's not even isur, it's tam kli that's blowing, right? So if anything, when it's on, it should be more kuladik than when it's off. Kuladik, yeah. Useful word. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't try to understand it. I understand you saying if it's going to go in either direction, then
Right.
one should, but a hammer is not just going to a hand. So where that box the issue you're making is saying a box is nothing and it's the not that it's because it's used for your
So because it's ready to be.
what's that used for without somebody telling what happened.
I hear. All right, you could argue that,
But it still doesn't help.
right?
So how do you explain? Yeah,
I say,
it's not Shabbat day.
I guess I think that I've seen rabbis write that electric things are muktzah. And I say, wait, well, why exactly? No, I don't know. It's the way it's written in places that aren't. Again, if I'm talking about like less rigorous writing, it sounds a lot more like, just like we don't know exactly what the problem with electricity is to begin with. So too, it's also muktzah because it is. Like if Chazal were here, they definitely say it's asur, and the chashmal would be its own av melacha, first of all, or its own shivut, terms like that, and it'd also be its own muktzah.
Oh, you're this. Well, that's so cool.
That's also true. And they say those cars are so dangerous. My goodness. Right? Ah, very good. Very good. Well played. We used to learn in Tveria without an air conditioner.
Turn on the air conditioner.
Can you imagine they would learn in Tveria without an air conditioner? In Tveria. Let's hear Rav Moshe. Rav Moshe, this is a tshuva, a very late tshuva, where he has some tshuva that it's not so clear what his stance on electric appliances is, so he clarified here. בעניין מוקצה במכשירי חשמל, כתבתי כמה פעמים בעניין זה וכן פרסמתי דעתי בעל פה למעשה בעניין זה, כבר היו הם דברים מפורסמים וידועים. מאחר שכמה העירו שכנראה יש כאין מבוכה בשיטתי, in a few places, כן ביקש שיעתיקו דברים אלו בזה הלשון, כדי לפרסם דעתי בספרי הבא. By the way, this one came out only after he died. This volume. This is published only after his death. הנה כלי חשמל, הגם שפועלים מדי חשמל ומחוברים לחשמל, אפילו מנורות חשמל למעשה, אינם מוקצים בשבת, ומותר לטלטלם, אלא אם כן כלים שעושים בהם מלאכה. ואם פעולתם אינם מלאכת שבת, אין עכשיו כמלאכת איסור, לחמת שיקבלו כוחם על ידי דבר אסור כמו חשמל. Meaning, if the isur is only connecting to electricity, so it's not a klishan for the isur.
Even when it's connected or not connected, it's working or not working.
Regardless.
I'm sorry. Can you say it's not again? I think I lost it.
No problem. He says if the only melacha that's being done with this kli is connecting to electricity, that's not klishan for the isur.
In other words, he's saying before Shabbat, the fact that it's connected already, or you're saying connecting it on Shabbat is the only malach you're doing?
No, he says doesn't matter, because the use of it isn't while you're doing an isur. What electric appliance does not fit this, by the way? Right. For example, right? You have an electric drill, a chainsaw. What else? New? Okay, fair enough, right? I was gonna say our phones.
One of those things.
Our phones is something that we use. What were you just doing? You're texting, right? I'm saying you're texting, right? That's that. The use is right. The use is all isurim. What? Right, but you can't see the time without changing the electric right? The electric current, right? What? Used to be able to, not anymore.
It's back. Yeah.
So all those things, it's important to note. All those things, his point is, it's not because it's up, this connects to what you said before. The automation means it's something that there's no melacha happening while you're getting the benefit of it, while you're, right? The use of the phone is not that it's on in my pocket. The use of the phone is that I can send a text, right? Or look something up. Make a phone call. It's a very strange thing. We also do that with phones. Surprising. Anyway. So it doesn't. I'll just read the second paragraph again. כלי חשמל, הגם שפועלים על ידי חשמל ומחוברים לחשמל, אפילו מנורת חשמל, L'maaseh einam muktzim b'Shabbat. Mutar l'taltalam. I think he's saying afilu menach chashmal because that's the one that is an isur deraisa to turn on. Because we're talking about the bulb that has the yes, that there you have a mavir problem, right? So he says even that at the moment you turn it on to isur deraisa, as opposed to fluorescent, which is not, right? Even so, it's not isur because that's not something you're going to do on Shabbos, right? That's not the benefit. Isn't from that. Or it's isur Rabbana. I don't understand the question. What are you asking? Or the deraita? They're not deraita. They're not deraita. They're a chemical reaction. I think
It's not like
exactly. There's no fire. Tungsten. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Yes, that's a good word. So,
Right, so he ends also with saying is that
let's finish this. אם פעולתם אינה מלאכת שבת, אין להחשיבם כמלאכתו לאיסור, מחמת שמקבלים כוחם לידי דבר אסור כמו חשמל. דבר שמלאכתו לאיסור, פירושו דבר שעושים בו איסור. And this is the important question, the important sentence. I don't know why whoever edited this didn't underline this one. דבר שמלאכתו לאיסור, פירושו דבר שעושים בו איסור. One that you do, it's a clear that you act an isur with. You don't do an isur with electric bulb. You use it or fan or whatever, right? You do an isur and then you could use it. But it's not like a chainsaw, a drill. It's not. ולא דבר הנעשה על ידי איסור. רק צריך להיזהר, לא להפריד להם מחברים לחשמל. Of course, you have to make sure not to turn it off by mistake, ואם אחד רוצה להחמיר לעצמו יותר, הרשות בידו. אז יש לידע שלכל הפחות מותר לטלטל גם נר חשמל לצורך גופו ומקומו. This, no one will disagree that you're allowed to carry these around לצורך גופו ומקומם. Right? So by the way, the phones are definitely Kli Torah Yisur. I mean, Rabbi Weiss argues that smartphones aren't Kli Torah Yisur because Kli Torah Yisur are weak. They're no different on Shabbos because they're Kli Torah Yisur all week. It's Rabbi Weiss. When? Right, it's Yisur, no, but ain't Yisur Chal Yisur. That's Rabbi Weiss. But that's a the LED, the LEDs. Yes. That was a fake sakana.
This is.
Why? You're allowed. You have to turn the flashlight on Shabbat? No, he's talking about turning it on Shabbat. Oh, to leave it on. No, there. Yes, right. And why would you be allowed to carry it? The tzorach gufo, tzorach mekomo. Right? So tzorach gufo mekomo. No, I thought you meant turning it. Why were they allowed to turn it on? I said it's a drabana place that you have some kind of chashash of reflok of sakana. No, not the phone. That's what I'm saying. The phone is different. Phone is the phone. It's one. Which one? Oh, the flashlight. Just the flashlight. Saying you're not talking about the phone. You're on the flashlight. Correct. The flashlight is not close to the isur. No, vadai. Just like a nair. It's the flashlight is just like the nair. It's the same thing. What? I thought you were saying that they allowed turning it on Shabbat, and when the blackout. That Yes. You leave the flashlight on before Shabbat. You're allowed to carry it. Yeah. No, he'd say more. He'd say even more. No. Hold on. I want to clarify the chidush. The chidush is saying is more than that. If the flashlight on my phone, if I leave the flashlight on my phone on, right, because there's blackout, right? Now I'm allowed to carry it because it's a Kli Torah Yisur. It is Kli Torah Yisur because most of what we do with the phone is Yisur. So there, but I'm allowed to tzorach gufo umkomo. So I need the light over there. I could carry it to there. I want to cover it so I can go to sleep because I don't want the light. I can do that too. I can put it in my closet because I want to not have the light, right? So I want to not light this area, right? Now, if I have a flashlight, I turn on before Shabbat, and then I left it in a place where it could get taken, it could get stolen, right? I'm in New York, right? I'm allowed to take it in, even though it's not Gufan, not Mekomo. No, that's a much bigger chidush. That's a much bigger chidush because it's not even Isur. That's the bigger chidush.
But that means the more standard use of like a fan or a light or whatever should be allowed before mikveh, because even
Correct.
if you, like, as much as-
Yes, yes, yes.
even if it would be machmir and qualification of holy sur, still allowed.
Right. That's right. Because none of these things are mukta unless you want to take the Chazon Ish to the end. Chazon Ish says explicitly. Just when the Chazon Ish, when he says buneh, he's saying this is a nothing that becomes something, right? It's a piece of junk that then magically, right, becomes useful. Right?
And how broadly can you define Mekomo? Like, the alarm,
That's
when
the
you
first
go off, you want to stay.
Well, why?
Mekomo, right, I'm saying.
What are you saying? What are you saying?
Mekomo, in terms of not having light and not having sound.
Yeah, any of those things. So correct. If you use your phone, for as an alarm clock, use run as an alarm clock, or can you take it out of the room? Well, I mean, that idea of pikuach nefesh situation, right? But apart from that, yeah, right. But even barring that, it's sorach mekomo, because you need quiet in the room, right? The room needs to be quiet.
Quiet in the room.
Yes,
Komo is not the, it's not the place.
correct. We said that in the end, right? If I have a mess, right? If I have a mess of stuff in my living room, if Rafi has a mess, I always have a mess of stuff. If Rafi has a mess of stuff in his house, and now he won't be able to invite people in, right? He wants to invite people in for Kiddush, and he won't be able to invite them in because he has a mess there. He's allowed to move the Kiddush Natan Isur.
You want the Makom physically.
Not because there's a mess in the living room, but he won't.
That you saying is that I'm moving the phone out, don't make a noise.
He want
Komo. It's not easy.
no. That's it. It is no here too. No, my example too. I want to use this table, but over there are a bunch of nails that the kids took out. Lord knows why. Right now, he's too embarrassed to invite people in. So now this table has become less useful. To make the table more useful, he's allowed to clear those nails up. I wouldn't be allowed to, because my house is always a mess, but he would. You know what I'm saying? Because the room is less useful because the nails are there. So to make the room more useful, you're allowed to move them. You're allowed to move them away, even though you're not using that space. That's what Shlomo Zalman says about that. I'm saying the same thing would apply. The room is less useful because my wife wants to sleep. The room is less useful for sleep. There you go. Ah, very good. You clearly sir. These trainer.
You have a pen on your desk.
So if
On the desk.
so, like this, if there's a pen over here,
No, pen on, where you gonna put the book?
yeah. So that's definitely okay.
Yes, Makom is-
I need this. No,
Makom.
that's
That makes
Dr.
sense.
Paz is saying, if there's a pen right here and I want to open the safer right here, of course I can move the pen away. I want the space physically. But if there's a phone over there making noise and it's affecting me over here, that is more surprising. Or if there's a bunch of nails on the floor over there and it's bothering my ambiance, right? So not Shabbosdik isn't enough. Because the room isn't less useful. That's the distinction of Shlomo Zalman says. So that we said it's a good question where do you draw the line, right? Because if you really won't invite guests because if it's upset, that's one thing. But if it's that the ambiance is harmed, that's a harder question. Let's just do the Reb Shlomo Zalman. Just a sec. Okay. Let's see there's Shlomo Zalman. That we'll finish. Says Shlomo Zalman. Which is very amusing because it seems, if you look at what point, if you look at the dates of this tshuva, he isn't entirely sure why you're not allowed to use electricity on Yom Tov and Shabbos at that point. To us, it's like, okay, of course you're not to use electricity on Shabbos. The question is only like, now you have to go into the questions of why exactly. To him, is like, I'm not entirely sure if it's not allowed. Because why is it not allowed? It's a very early shoot. It's Chelik Aleph Siman Tet. It's very early. מכל מקום, לאחר שהוא כבר מחובר עם החשמל מערב שבת, אפשר דאב עלי כשעון. דף שאסור לאורכו בשבת, מכל מקום נקטין כמו שפסק, הפנים מאירות. I'm going to say another word about this, Ted, another distinction that comes out of this, that's not the exact, kind of the opposite of Shabbat הלוי in a moment. הרי דמי גם כאן, אף על גב דו עומד גם להפסיקו דאסור, מכל מקום פשוט הוא דלא קרוי משום כך מלאכתו לאיסור, כמו שאין נר הדולק ביום טוב חשב מוקצה מפני זה שרגילים גם לכבות.
The fact that you could turn it off definitely doesn't make any sense.
Right, no, but I need to explain. That's why I stopped to say. I think I need to explain the sentence a bit more. He's saying like this: Be'etzem, if I have a fan that's off, what is the functionality of the fan? The fan, you have to.
Soft, you're saying it's not that I could.
Right, so I need to turn it on in order to make it functional, right? So he says at that point it would be a Klim Shal Isur, because the only way to get anything out of it is by doing an Isur.
Unless you just wanted the space.
That's a separate how we define the Kli as opposed to what the use of that space or what need we have. That's a different question. He says, but if it's already on, it's not Klim Shal Isur. Why? Because you don't need to do anything to get the benefit. If I have a hammer, if I have a drill, if I have the only way to get benefit from them is by doing the malacha, right? He defines a bit differently. I said before, right? I think the difference between Rav Moshe and Rav Shlomo Zalman here. Rav Moshe says davar shemachtor isur pirusho davar sheosim bo isur, v'lo davar shenasa b'yedei isur. Something that the benefit is not achieved by going through an isur, but something that you constantly use for isur. That's Rav Moshe's definition. Therefore, also when the fan is off, it's not a Kli Shal Isur, according to Rav Moshe. Rav Shlomo Zalman says differently. Shlomo Zalman says something that the only way I could get the benefit from, I have to go through doing an Isur, that is a Kli Shal Isur. So if it's off, it's a Kli Shal Isur. If it's on, it's not. And that's why he says, now you might argue, wait, but fan is also turned off, right? Which is also asur. There is something to do with the fan that is asur. He says yes, but that's not the functionality of the fan. The fan isn't there in order to turn it off, right? I was able to not have the breeze without the fan, right? Able to not have the breeze without the fan. So just two slightly different definitions of the Ravid is my point, right? According to Rav Moshe, the definition here is something that the benefit happens through Isurim. Right? The benefit is achieved only while you're doing the Isur. Rav Shlomo Zalman understood differently. He says when the candle is on, it's not going to be Isur because there's no Isur that needs to be done in order to get benefit from it. Is that it? Okay. I think I'm gonna